We're here taking a look at a 5-color control list. It's popular and standard right now on the Goldfish metagame. It's within the top 5. A lot of fun things you can do, both with Atraxa and then Atali, Primal Conqueror, casting spells, without paying mana costs, opportunities to trample and receive poison counters, lots of cool interactions across the deck. You have things like Invasion of Zendikar, which of course pops on 3, becomes a 4/4 with Vigilance and Haste, and you can use a double-kicked Archangel of Wrath to enable that. Things like Herd Migration in the early game help you ramp up and be able to cast some of your more beefy spells. Sunfall, Ossification, you have your Archangel of Wrath triggers themselves, Leyline Binding, all help you control the board to put yourself in a very powerful position to fight back. Let's go ahead and run this through a league. I'm really excited about this. Alrighty. Go ahead and go first here. We have a great opening hand. Opportunities to drop Invasions, Zendikar, Leyline Binding to hold down the fort. We'll pay 2 for our bindings on turn 2, which I feel is like a fair trade. We'll start with Aspara's Headquarters. Opponent drops a Monastery Swift Spear and cracks in. So we're looking at facing some sort of red aggro deck. Very unfun for us. We'll go ahead and play a Mountain, and we'll hold up Binding just in case things get crazy. And here's a turn 2 Bloodthirsty Adversary. Going to take 3 here. Opponent can't pay for the ability, but they'll go ahead and crack in. Alright. We'll go to my turn here. We'll go ahead and tempt fate. We're going to have double white to be able to drop an Archangel of Wrath, but looks like even more importantly, we'll have Sunfall mana by turn 5, provided we draw 1 more land. We can always play Invasion of Zendikar next turn, and we're protected with Leyline Binding as well. This feels like a good position so far. And my opponent has no turn 3 play, which is interesting. I'll go ahead and go to my turn here. I'll go ahead and play out Boseiju, and then drop an Invasion of Zendikar to ensure we can get that Sunfall down. We can also Archangel of Wrath. I think my opponent is expecting a Sunfall at this point. We are missing black right now. And we also we have double white. We're missing double. We have double green. We'll go ahead and just make sure we are good on the white mana. Since we do have some low-cost white mana cards, we may want to have double spell on some turns. All right, here's a Lightning Strike into Prowess on my turn. My opponent goes a 2/2 and a 1/2. So is this going to be a Swift Spear and then more stuff? Doesn't look like it. I'm going to take you down to 7 here. All right. So now is an opportunity to drop an Archangel of Wrath. We've got the mana to do so. And we're going to double kick it. We're going to have some fun. And we'll see what happens. My opponent is all red mana, so they can't necessarily counter it, but we're going to be able to kill the adversary and then potentially the Swift Spear as well. Depends on what my opponent does spell-wise. If they respond to the trigger, I could potentially not be able to kill the Swift Spear with Prowess triggers on it, and that's what they're going to do. That's going to take them to a 2/3. Going to kill the Archangel, but we will take care of the adversary, and we'll gain some life back. So we do leave up Leyline Binding, which is a nice place to be. We have double green next turn if we want to stomp. And a Thundering Raiju. Alright, probably should have Leyline Binded the Raiju ahead of time, but we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Take 2. My opponent's tapped out. And this puts us in an interesting position. We'll go ahead and ossify that Swift Spear here. And then we'll play Stomper. And we'll just grab blue to be safe. A Phoenix Chick. Attacking for 1. And I think we're going to go ahead and attack into our Invasion of Zendikar. then drop a kicked Archangel. And pass the turn. And then we will lay down the beats if my opponent would like to continue playing. Alright, let's go ahead and kick our Archangel just a few times. We'll go face with one of them. Now representing 2 mana here. Stoke the Flames in the Archangel, which is perfectly fine. Alright. I am well protected here. Alright. My opponent did not want to continue playing. Thanks for playing. Alrighty, we're in game 2 here with 5-color control. Couple of lands, got an Archangel and a Briefcase. I think this is a keep. We'll go ahead and drop a Jetmir's Garden to kick us off. That'll put us into Briefcase territory next turn. And then that white just sets us up a little more firmly for Archangel here. So we'll drop a Briefcase. I plan on playing Proving Ground next turn. And then hopefully going into Archangel if needed. But it doesn't look like we need to. Perhaps we should have gone with Proving Ground against a blue deck. Not knowing if it's soldiers or not. And it looks like there's some angel shenanigans. So each other angel can control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter. And we cast more angel spells. So that feels a little concerning to me that we're going to get some opportunities through that angel. So we're just going to ossify this Font of Hope and crack in. Raffine's Informant, essentially growing into a 3/2. Courier's Briefcase can give us a mana here in the early game if we really need to Archangel of Wrath in 2 turns. Or if we want a Topiary Stomper as well, as it's an opportunity. Don't think I'm going to take advantage of it yet. More than likely it's going to help us with that Archangel trigger here, because we're just going to Briefcase again. Make another 1/1 and pass the turn. Alright, so we're set up for a big Archangel next turn if my opponent plays a 2/2. But he does have Homestead Courage, which lets us pump up that Informant. I don't think he'll do it. On the Informant, I think he's waiting for something a little more spicy to hit the battlefield. We're not well protected here. If he goes Homestead Courage into that Font of Hope, that's a bummer. It's going to eat both our Archangel triggers. Might be thinking about whether he wants to do that or not. Attacking into my board with a 3/2. I'll take the damage. I have better things to do with 1/1s, I think, in the longer term. Alright, so the question is there a 1-mana spell I'm not thinking of that allows my opponent to deal with this 2-for-1 that's about to happen? Let's find out. The answer looks like no. We get in there. For 2. Alright, so we're back to 4 mana, and that allows us to stomp next turn, unless we draw something a little spicier. Not sure if we'll see that. It's got a serious hand of cards. Feels like they didn't appreciate the 2-for-1. And sends it back to me automatically. Go ahead and play at our Stomper, and we'll grab, let's see, what do we need? We got double white, no need for double blue. We do have black as well. We can get any color we'd like here. I think I'm going to get a white mana. That feels like the correct play here. Our opponent continues to slow roll, it seems. My opponent did finally decide to play a spell here and play Wandering Emperor, likely going to exile my Archangel of Wrath. We've got 5 mana on the board right now. Boseiju takes it to 6, which doesn't quite cast us Atraxa, and it doesn't allow for Topiary to attack. If they choose to exile Archangel, it dies by token, and that preserves a little bit of faith here. Yep, going to exile Archangel, gain 2 life, pass back to me. So now we're going to go ahead and attack here. We're going to attack Wandering Emperor and our opponent. And we're going to play Proving Ground, and we're going to pass. Our opponent passes back the turn. We'll go ahead and play a Boseiju as a land at this point, and then we'll go to combat. I feel like there's another Wandering Emperor here that'll eat my Stomper, which I'm okay with. We could either choose to Leyline Binding or just play out an Atraxa at that point. And I feel like the stronger play, given my opponent will be at 12 life if that happens. Actually, they'll be back at 14 because they'll gain 2 life off of that exile trigger. That does refill our hand, essentially. That happens. Go ahead and crack in. Alright. Looks like we'll go ahead and attempt to play out an Atraxa here, though I feel like we're walking into a counterspell. Nope. We'll go ahead and play these. We'll grab a Mirex, create some tokens if we need it. Grab an Archangel. And then looks like we can grab ourselves a Leyline Binding as well. And we'll pass the turn back to my opponent. And so our opponent decided to concede after some lovely slow play. And we move on. Alrighty, we're here in game 3. 3 Triomes of Forest, and then some opportunities for bigger plays later. Not psyched about this keep. Don't know what our opponent is on. Looks like they've got a Blood Bowl background. We're going to keep it, though. We're going to play out Aspara's Headquarters to lead us off. That just gets us into the white colors we want to be playing. An Invasion Zendikar is nice, especially paired with the Archangel of Wrath. Okay, we're against enchantments. So that Kami has the potential to get big. Ossification can help deal with it. I don't think I want to be fighting down that Kami of Transcendence right now. He can attack for 3, potentially 4, depending on the enchantments they play. If they're the 1-cost enchantments, I'm not hugely worried. I am unsettled about a wedding announcement, though. It's going to be a little difficult. We're going to go ahead and play a basic forest and then ossify into that with the Kami. And just keep our damage under control here. Next turn we'll play an island into an invasion. Potentially could have played that Aspara's Headquarters, though we do still have double white if we have to Archangel for any reason. Alright, Spirited Companion draws them a card. And they have another 2-drop, pumping up their Spirited Companion. Alrighty, so I think we're going to go ahead and Invasion of Zendikar this turn. Because that's going to get us the black mana we need to Archangel of Wrath next turn. And we will go ahead and grab a Plains as well. I feel like having more Plains in the battlefield this deck is best. There's lots of things we want multiple Plains for every turn. I'm going to take a bunch of damage here. And if my opponent passes, that's all good news. A second Weaver of Harmony is not good news. And that wedding announcement really puts us on the back step. Alrighty. So we are at the point where we could Herd Migration, which then makes 5 3/3 tokens. That feels like the strongest play here. We're going to play a Rafine's Tower tapped. Oof. We're not quite there yet. So I think we play the Archangel. And we deal with the 2/2/2s. Gains us some life, provides a blocker, and then it allows us to herd migration next turn. And he's going to ossify the Archangel. Going to deal 6 damage to me, 7 damage to me. All right. So we're desperate in need for a Sunfall here. Although the herd migration is going to help control the ground, provided my opponent has no sweepers. A Leyline Binding is awesome. So we'll go ahead and herd migration here. And then we'll spar as headquarters. Now, removing this wedding announcement would help to deal with some of the latent power on the board, but that Weaver of Harmony is doing good work. I expect to have to chump a bit with these 3/3s. But what I'd like to do, Seal of Existence, one of the 3/3s, gives him some extra power on the board. And my opponent chooses one of the 3/3s to remove from existence. They can copy the activated ability, grab another one. Now I've got 2 left. I can double block. And we'll deal with 1. Okay. Alright, Topiary Stomper, not a bad draw. Just gets us some more options. We're going to have white left over here to be able to still cast Leyline Binding. And it'll draw some more land out of our deck. Always a nice touch. And we'll play this tapped. We will go all in. We cannot afford to attack here. So my opponent's being pumped up by Hallowed Haunting. Alright. I think we pluck the Weaver of Harmony out from under my opponent here when I go to attacks. Okay, actually let's grab the Hallowed Haunting from my opponent. That feels like the bigger threat here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we are next turn away from realm breaking for our Praetors that we have. My opponent's going to crack in here for what looks like a lethal attack. Not quite. We're not there yet. We'll go ahead and block like this. This is going to take us 4 damage. My opponent has no trample, but it will deal with the Weaver of Harmony. And we'll force my opponent to mill. And we get another Hallowed Haunting out of their deck. And we'll go ahead and say good night to this opponent here. I think they've got us beat. Good game. Got an interesting hand. Got early ossification. We've got everything but blue mana here. I think we can get there with the invasions. We'll give this a shot. I think our big risk is getting run over before our Archangel can come out and kill some stuff. Looks like it's going to be a turn 5 Archangel supported by Zendikar. I love this 2-card combo. Got some swamps. We'll play our Proving Ground first. Jund them out. And we've got our double white here as well, which is nice and strong. A Razor Lash. Looking a little aggressive out of the gate here. We have the option to ossify that Razor Lash. I'm not worried about it yet, though. We could also go ahead and invasion into herd migration if we draw 1 more land. But I don't think we're particularly worried at the moment about this Razor Lash hitting us. Alright, pass back to my turn. We have an opportunity to stomp here, which will guarantee us that herd migration after a successful invasion. Always nice. Alright, gonna kill our Stomper, but we still get the land. And we're gonna have double white. We can grab our blue mana off this Stomper, which makes it so we have our full herd migration later on. Alright, grab our island and pass the turn. Gonna pump up their Transmogrant, I think. And we'll take 5. Alright, probably very low chance we do die next turn, so I feel comfortable invading of Zendikar. Let's see, he's gonna give it +2/+2. It's gonna go 5. And then we'll either be able to Archangel or Herd Migration, depending on what our needs are. Archangel will give us some serious play if we need to clog up the board for any reason. Let's go ahead and get a swamp and a forest just to bolster that. And we will pass the turn. I feel a little uneasy, but my opponent's at 3 mana and has been stuck there. They're probably going to give their Transmogrant +2, attack for 5, and maybe they'll have a 3 or 4 mana play. So we're at 7, and Liliana Veil's going to come down, probably force me to discard.
Something suspicious.
And that's fine. I'm okay discarding this mountain, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can herd migration still. Alright, so if we herd migration, it's going to exile, and so we're in a very favorable position. We could also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we did have a ley line, that'd be helpful. We could double into Liliana with the Archangel, but I think just presenting a whole bunch of power on board is very strong. My opponent will likely have some removal in their hand. If they force me to discard, I can discard an invasion off of this. But we can also choose to Archangel here and here, and that just gets rid of the options. Now, a Shieldred's pretty good, but Ossification is also pretty good. So 4, 5, 6. So we'll be able to Ossify, and we'll be able to Archangel as well. So if Transmogrant attacks, that's just what's going to happen anyway, but it happens on my turn. And Transmogrant can't block. Alright, so first thing we want to do is go ahead and get rid of Shieldred. And then we'll get rid of Liliana. And we'll go ahead and get rid of the Transmogrant. So that does allow my opponent to take that Transmogrant back.
With friends.
And we will guarantee ourselves a 4/4. And see what my opponent has coming next. My opponent needs 3 more mana to play that Transmogrant out. Excuse me. Likely my opponent has some sort of removal in their hand. You can use it on the Archangel if they want to prevent additional lifelink. We do have another Archangel in our hand as well, and can discard Invasion of Zendikar if Liliana comes down. All right, highest power. So they're going to hit Awakened Skyclave, and they're going to make their Memory of Toshiro a 4/5. Interesting, but it is tapped. So I have 3 times 4 is 12 power on the board, and my opponent concedes. Good game. All right, we're at 3-1 right now. Getting over the hump here. Right between 4 and 5 wins is that break-even point, so we're approaching that opportunity. Let's go ahead and play another one. Alrighty, we've got an early herd migration, Archangel and Sunfall opportunities later. That just guarantees us some colors. We're going to go ahead and keep for science here. Brown DR, Brown Doctor. Alright, and we're against a burn strategy, so that early herd migration will be very important, so we'll want to play a Jetmir's Garden to kick things off. Now, double Atraxa is very unfortunate. Here they go into likely... Okay, very good. And is it equal to his power? No, yep, that many cards. So they're going to see a lot of cards through that. We're going to want to go ahead and play this Mirex, which allows us to herd migration next combat. We're going to take 5 this turn, and my opponent will have additional looks at cards. And they can play them, so that means they're going to get to play some lands as well. This is a tough position here. We're going to go ahead and herd migration, likely into a green source here, or blue source. We have blue, so we've got green, blue, black, red. No, we'll go ahead and grab green because we're going to have double white from Rafine's Tower. Alright, and of course we draw the forest. So now we're in a tough spot where we're going to want to get down a Sunfall as soon as we can. So I think our only option here is to play that and pass the turn. Yep. And we're going to take 5 more at least. A Swift Spear. Okay. Alright. So we can stem the bleeding a little bit here. We don't have a kicker, so the best we can do is lifelink block, unless my opponent has his own Holy Heat, or whatever the option is here. Mechanized Warfare. Alright, double damage. So I think we end up losing here, or at least it is going to deal some damage. Alright, so we luckily have a Sunfall next turn. That gives us a little breathing room, but not much. Alright, so we got our double white. We can Sunfall for 2. And my opponent is holding back some cards, which I would do if I were them. So we're going to play that. We'll play our Sunfall. Force me into an early Sunfall, and then they're probably going to drop 2 creatures here and start swinging. There's 1 creature. There's a Play with Fire. Attack for 2 from the chick. So my best option here is likely going to be Ossify. Invasion won't do us any good. Yep, we will Ossify the chick, and then pop the Phyrexian Incubator token and block if we need to. There's a Squee. So we need 2 damage from the token there. We need to draw an untapped land. Yep. Untap land here unless my opponent can deal 1 damage. There we go. Good game, opponent. Well played. Alrighty, we're back for game 5. We have early herd migration, a Sunfall, and an invasion all ready to go here. We've got everything but let's see. We're almost there on mana. We're in a good position. I think we're going to keep this and swing for the 3 mana off Herd Migration and fill in any gaps. We've got 4, 5 colors. Let's play our early white mana. Along with the green mana, gets us a Herd Migration on turn 2 if we need it. And it looks like we're up against green-white enchantments, which I'm not too worried about the early Herd Migration, but I'll keep it open in case things get hairy. We don't have a strong turn 3 play. Our Realm Breaker is probably that option here. But it doesn't do anything on the board on turn 3, so I'm not concerned about it. No reason to Boseiju yet. We could Boseiju the Naturalist, but I just don't think that's a strong play in this position. Wedding Announcement for 2 mana, cast an enchantment, pumps up the Naturalist, and attack for 5. Okay. We're going to hold on the Herd Migration here. We can get ourselves out of this mess if we need to, and we do draw another Herd Migration. I think the play here is to grab a basic land off Herd Migration and then keep Boseiju up. So we're going to grab a green mana and throw that onto the battlefield. And that keeps Boseiju up to kill Naturalist if we absolutely have to. They're likely just going to draw a card off of Wedding Announcement in this spot. Alright, Spirit Warlock, protection from vampires. Well, that's a bit hairy. Alright, going to put that onto Naturalist and pump that up even further. So I think we're going to go ahead and Boseiju here on the Naturalist just to save ourselves some damage. Now we do have to contend with a flying 4/4 lifelink, which will likely be even larger next turn. But if we draw an untapped land, we can go ahead and Sunfall. We don't draw an untapped land, but we can get this Dawnheart Martyr out of the way and then have an opportunity to Herd Migration further if we so choose. Alright, so now I think the play is going to be see what our opponent plays, and we may want to Herd Migration to guarantee that we get a land drop out. And here comes 3 more power on the board. So 2 more power. Generous Visitor is not an enchantment. Oh, look at the cute little acorns. Alright, so we'll take 6. And I think in this spot we do guarantee ourselves the Sunfall. And there's a Leyline Binding. We'll go ahead and Sunfall. My opponent does have plenty of cards in hand, but this just does protect our position. Their creatures do get more powerful. We also have a Leyline Binding. I'm not overly worried about Hallowed Haunting at the moment. If this is the position we're in, an Ossification on my token. No. Creates a enchantment spirit friend there. I'm okay being in this position, and then Invasion Zendikaring. This will guarantee us an Atraxa next turn. And we'll grab a swamp and an island. That should do it. And we do have a Leyline Binding held up here if we absolutely have to. Alrighty. Okay. Remind me to deal with that Hallowed Haunting. That's going to be a pain in my butt. Well, we can. And we'll play Realm Breaker. And we'll end the turn. Now, it doesn't have flying, notably, so we're going to be able to chump block this spirit creature. Okay. Ossification target, if I ever saw one. Also decent for the Atraxa. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and play out our Atraxa. And that's going to grab us some interesting things. Probably want to control that. There. Creature. Grab a land that can generate us some tokens. Is Sunfall the right choice here? My opponent has lots of... Well, Collects can probably be dealt with a white mana. And Mirrex can grab us that white mana there. So we'll play Mirrex, and then we'll play Leyline Binding on Guided by Fate. And then we'll pass the turn. So my opponent's going to get a big old friendly Portrait, which I can ossify, or I can Archangel Trigger twice. We're going to ossify my Atraxa and attack in for 3. Alright, attack in for 5. Well, this is a tough spot to be in. We can exile all creatures with Sunfall if we'd like. My opponent has no cards in hand, which is positive. So go ahead and pop the Sunfall. My opponent draws a card. We can attack for 2. Let's go ahead and play our Stomper, though. I can grab any basics left in my library, which, to be fair, are a few. We have no untapped mana, so it's not going to do us a huge lot. We'll bluff another Leyline Binding if we need to, and it does not come in untapped. And my opponent top decks a Fight Rigging. Very cool. Gets a Hideaway. It'll be a minute before that's useful. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and pop the Invasion here. And we'll go to face with the Stomper. And then we'll also just go ahead and activate the Incubator. Alright. So now we have an opportunity next turn to Courier's Briefcase and draw a bunch of cards. We can pop our... Okay, he's probably going to take the Archangel, maybe? It just gets the lifelink off the battlefield. Sure does. Alright, do 4, 8, 10. Alright, so we're going to be able to do 10 damage this turn. We'll go to combat. And let's drop a Courier's Briefcase. And then on my opponent's end stop, we'll go ahead and draw a whole bunch of cards. Seal from existence, either the Skyclave or the Stomper. But that doesn't do it in this position, and I think I've got this in the bag. And my opponent decided to call it quits after using up their timeouts. All right, on to game 6, I believe it is. We've got 2 tap lands, double Invasion Zendikar, and an Ossification we can lay down early. This is a risky one. We need to draw another green to play Stomper, and even then I don't feel great. That just ramps us. I think we're going to keep it, though, on the strength of Invasion Zendikar and Ossification. I'm Wasteful says your go. Looks like we are playing right into a nice fast red deck. So we'll go ahead and play Jetmir's Garden and expect to face down some threats early here. We're going to get a turn 2 threat coming right at us, is my guess off the back of this Kumano. Very nice looking mountains. John Avon art. Looks fancy. A Swift Spear with a +1. And then a Phoenix Chick. I think we just go ahead and ossify the Swift Spear off this island. And then let him crack in for 3. It's very likely we'll be ossifying Etching of Kumano again. A Mishra's Foundry is an interesting choice. Very strong way to spend your mana in the late game as a red deck. Gives you a 2/2. And then multiple Mishra's Foundries make that into a 4/4, 6/6, etc. Gonna Rafine's Tower, and then we're gonna go ahead and ossify this Etching as well. And this just keeps us alive for a few more turns. Doesn't allow us to stomp, but it does allow us to play Realmbreaker, and then very likely use Realmbreaker once if we need to before we're in deep trouble. We'll see how well that pans out. Another mountain's a great draw for us. Puts us 3 damage low. We're on a 4-turn clock at the moment. Atraxa's a very bad draw for us, and so we show our hand with the Realmbreaker. Not a good position. And if we have to use Realmbreaker, that feels bad, but it does take us down 3 to 4. And this brings us to a 2-turn clock now. We're in a very bad spot if we have to use Realmbreaker. The best draw would be an untapped land, which would then allow us to play Archangel and hold the board against either of these. Very luckily though, my opponent has a 2 damage removal spell, Play with Fire. Here we go, into no mana. Good game, opponent. We are down and out. All right, there's our 3 losses, 4 wins. We did all right in this league, considering my challenges with Standard, being I haven't played it much. I've been playing Paper Legacy and Modern for the last couple of months actually. It's been a blast, but I decided to jump into Standard and see what we can do with this 5-color control deck. Did okay. Going to collect our gems in our pack and move on forward. Thanks all for watching. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and leave comments on plays you would have made instead of my fabulous ones.